e-tron was unveiled back in 2009. Now this is a division that concentrates solely on fully electric vehicles, a bit like BMW i. Jump forward a decade, now everywhere you look you'll see an e-tron, whether it's a GT or an SUV, like Q4 e-tron. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. Now 2030 is fast approaching. Audi's looked at this a bit differently and they've vowed from 2026 that all their vehicles will be fully electric. Now that shows real belief in a brand when you think that's 4 years away. But it's not surprising when you look at what they've already achieved. I mean, we've just done, I think it's about an 800-mile road trip. And the interesting thing is, we only charged it 3 times. Twice fully and once for a small top-up. Range anxiety? It doesn't exist with this. I'm not exaggerating. It's built on the MEB EV platform. Pretty much anything electric from Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, etc. is going to be built on this platform. Because it's solely for electric vehicles, it means none of the batteries or tech take up any of the cabin space. Perfect. Our model is an S-Line. It's a 40 and it's 70 kilowatt hour. And that's the size of the battery. So you get sports suspension in an S-Line and it lowers it 15 mil. And it's the launch edition. And it retails for around £50,000. Now there's a number of powertrains available for the Q4. Starts with the 35 and you can get, say, a 35 Sport for just under £45,000. Then you've got the 40, like us, or you could go all in and get the Vorsprung 50 Quattro. Now that'll cost you over £70,000. And the other thing is you can optional left, right and centre. Comfort packs, tech packs, advanced packs, you name it. You can even accessorize, and I don't mean like lippy and whatever. What I do mean is things like an espresso coffee machine. Check out Audi to find out more. Now with this, it's rear wheel drive and it has a rear motor. If you go for a Quattro, then you get a front motor too. This will pull 0 to 60 in 8.5 and has a range of, well, they claim 316, but to be quite frank, I think it's more. Now let me explain. The reason I say that is because this recoups at will. And it's not just at low speeds, it's even at motorway speeds. Now when they built this, they thought, right, okay, it has to be seriously efficient, meaning lightweight materials. So you get aluminium parts, you get recycled interior. So no real leather here, unless you go for top of the range, and then you'll get nappa. But this, believe it or not, is made out of, I think it's 26 1.5 litre plastic bottles. And it just makes it think, actually, all these bottles that you see lying around, actually go in and make something this cool. We've also got a fair few options, including sports seats. Even on the long haul, after 5 hours sat in it with a small comfort break, no backache, no squirreling around, just sat there comfortably. Now I'm wittering on about the road trip, watch out for that, that'll be coming soon. It also features bits of festival speed. This is Audi design language at its finest. It's sleek, sporty and stylish. So you've got a sealed grille here, lovely 4 rings of Audi, and technology such as matrix headlights. So when you're travelling towards vehicles, they'll stay on full beam and you'll think, oh, is that right? Yes, because then you'll see the sorcery with the headlamps as they start flickering. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. By the way, these are fully LED, automatic with high beam assist. e-tron down here, nice wide arches. And this is Aurora Violet. I really do like the contrast in the front. Now you see all the shaping here, and even these body lines for efficiency. And under here, well, this is sealed. You've got perfect airflow throughout. Now I love curvature, and just look at this. It blows round, and then you've got the design round, the lights, and these are rather special. They do like Knight Rider kind of things. And it's got, well, it's not the lowest ride height, so it means that you can be a little adventurous. The thing about the Q4 is it doesn't look overdone. It's just tasteful. I mean, you can tell it's an electric vehicle, but it doesn't shout it at you. Safety-wise, you've got AEB, collision detection, sensors up here, sensors down there. It'll even remind you when you need to take a coffee break. As for convenience, one pedal driving, so you never need to brake. Well, within reason. We've got normal cruise control, but you can get adaptive with stop-go. And parking sensors. Now you're probably looking at this and thinking, that must be a front camera. Well, when this was unveiled, there was supposed to be a 360 camera option. But I think due to things like chip shortage, it's just never appeared on any of the Q4s. Oh, that's the thing. You can also get this in a Sportback. We've got a semi-clamshell bonnet. Arches round here, which are body coloured, 20-inch wheels, decent tyre, making it comfortable on-road and off-road. Yeah, it's not got the highest ride height, and as I mentioned before, this is 15mm lower, but that means it handles like it's on rails. Power folding door mirrors, blind spot detection, dependent on which pack you go for, and keyless entry. Little quarter lights, that reminds me of things like Mark 1 Golfs. S-Line emblem here, because let's face it, you want an S-Line to look sporty, and that it does. Roof rails with a satin finish, and privacy glass, and a chrome trim. The more you look at the vehicle, you can see where they've tried to achieve more and more efficiency. For example, the side skirts with the groove here for the airflow, the body lines here. Let's take a look inside. The doors open nice and wide, and I can see premium materials. And that design language, it just screams out Audi. Padded area here, stitching, even a button here for your power tailgate. The door opening's nice and wide, and a grab handle. Climbing in, nice and easy. And as soon as I sit on the seat, technically the vehicle's alive, so you don't have to press start. As soon as you step in, you can tell it's signature Audi. And the shaping round the dash, mix of premium materials and solid chunky S-Line seats. So these are an option. They'll cost you around £1,000, but they're well worth it. Extremely comfortable, supportive. You can even extend this. They are manual, but you have electronic lumbar support. Now, I've read conflicting reports on how this steering wheel actually acts in the real world. But after driving it nearly 800 miles, I didn't notice anything. If anything, I thought it was a very good wheel. Everything feels good to the touch. Now, there is a lot of piano black in here. It looks very good, but it does highlight fingerprints. Now, it's not the biggest infotainment screen in the world, but it does the job perfectly. It's nice and responsive, and it's got lots of functionality. You've got radio, which is DAB. You've got media options. Set some of the car's settings, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Google Earth. And one trick that this vehicle certainly has is augmented heads-up display. Navigation appears like it's around 10 meters ahead of the car, so it just makes navigation a doddle. Now, you might not have a rotary dial for the volume, but you do have this, and you swirl your finger around to turn the volume up. You can also talk to it, tell it to do things, so that makes it far easier. I've got a little panel down here, rear fogs, and this looks like lighting, so I can turn on auto, off, etc. Solid build quality. But what would you expect from an Audi? It's not going to be flimsy. I mean, this is really solid. This too, premium materials throughout. Lots of storage, cup holders, decent door pockets, wireless charging pad here. The stalks are nice and solid, and the switch gear feels good. Glove box. Oh, it's not the biggest, but look at the soft opening. It has some really funky styling. For example, round the vents. And they're not really dust traps, because they've literally got 3 bars as opposed to having, say, shed loads of honeycomb. Now, you will find hard plastics, but that's for robustness, easy to clean. But generally speaking, it's very well done. At 6'3", I've got no problem with headroom. And also, Annabelle pointed out, you can adjust the seatbelt height. It's a great driving position. You've got reach and rake in the steering wheel and a footrest down here. And as it's an electric car, a 2-pedal system. There's also paddles on the back of the wheel. The cluster's nice and easy to read, and you can see on the left hand side when you're charging and coasting. Now, if you press these buttons on the steering wheel, you can change the layout. One that I really utilised on the road trip was to have the navigation here, and it has like a marker, so when you get into, say, a corner, it will count down, and it just makes it really easy. And then you've got your chevron and your heads-up display as it shows things like road sign recognition, the speed of the vehicle, lane keep assist. Well, you've got an airbag that drops down here so you don't bang your heads in the event of a collision. One thing you'll immediately notice is there's no handbrake. And it's not like it's hidden, it's just not here. Instead, you have a park button here. Using the shifter, straightforward, reverse, neutral, drive and brake. So that's your regen mode for things like hills. And Audi's drive select system. Comfort, you've got efficiency, which limits the vehicle to around 80 miles an hour. You've got individual, and of course dynamic. We've got a premium Sonos sound system, 10 speakers and a subwoofer, and it sounds amazing. The bass, crisp and deep. And one thing I've just noticed, doors that cover the sills. Let's have a look in the back. The door opens nice and wide once again, and added area for your arm. This is hard though, but good build quality, decent wide door opening. It's quite tall, so this should be very simple indeed. Absolutely no problem. And a grab handle. Considering this seat's set for me at 6'3", I have masses of legroom. Headroom, literally sat right upright like this, about 2 inches. Sound of quality. It amazes me how much legroom I've got. I can get my feet under the seats too. Down here, because we've got a tech pack, we get USB-Cs and we can control our tri-zone. Excellent. Comfortable supportive seats, finish very nicely, and it doesn't feel too dark, even with my sunglasses on. Privacy glass and a black roof. Pull down armrests, 2 cup holders, isofix points, airbags. Now one thing that I would have preferred to have seen here is this padded. Doesn't seem very Audi like that, to be honest, but that's scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's comfortable, it's airy, and it's great for a long journey. And at a push you'll get 5 people in here. Decent door pocket, electric window, and a padded area for your arm. Very comfortable. And one thing I have noticed is this seat is raised, so if I sit up like this, I've got a great view through the windscreen. And one final touch that always appeals, touch activated map reading lights. From this angle you can really see the flared styling, and that also helps with efficiency. Now we've got discs on the front but drums on the rear, which helps with regen. Speaking of regen, this is where you charge it. A nice sturdy cover, a decent hinge, and this makes it waterproof. So you can home charge, you can type 2, and you can rapid charge. And get this, you can charge it with up to 150 kilowatt hour, meaning you can get around 80 miles in just over 10 minutes. The rear is a thing of beauty. The sculpture of the rear lenses, these are LED, and they have some tricks up their sleeves like the front too. And as we have matrix headlamps fitted, we also get a full-size light bar. Subtle understated styling with a mix of colours. Now I suppose if I was designing this, what I would have done is turn this into a stealth wiper, but that's scraping the bottom of the barrel once again. Chunky rear spoiler, shark fin aerial, and parking sensors. You can even upgrade to a reversing camera. Power tailgate, and decent storage. And this is in for a reason, but we'll get to that in a moment. And this is heavy, so it shows how strong this actually is. Stow your cables underneath. You've got storage points on the left and the right. 2 rear boot lights, so it illuminates very nicely. Get your shopping in, absolutely no problem. Our road trip, we've got suitcases, bags, and all our tech, all in the boot. And normally we put things on the back seat. 40/20 folding seat, technically extra storage under the carpet, and tethering hooks. Popping out the parcel shelf is nice and easy, just unhook this. To drop the seats, just literally pull this forward. Now it doesn't lay entirely flat, there's no gap. You quite easily get, say, a mountain bike in. The other thing is, it doesn't lock. It's certainly louder than some EVs we've driven, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Not the kind of vehicle you can probably creep up on someone, but we'll have to test it at Goodwood. Well, it's rather refined, even on Silverdale's bumpy, in a word, knackered roads. I've noticed if I look at the shifter down here, I've got D and B, so drive and brake. So all you do is knock this back for B, and then you can adopt a 1-pedal driving system. Perfect, especially on the Lake District roads around here. And it's amazing how many miles you can recoup. And I went down a track and it was about maybe 1.5 miles, and this recouped 4 miles. So if I drive economically on the way, there's no telling how far we'll get. Did you notice when I knocked it back into D then, we went back into coast mode, and it will coast for England. Oh look, happy cows over all there.
Clear on the left. Happy
So already we've gained 1 mile. We've travelled likely 2 and gained 1. That doesn't make sense.
Well, it does. It's excellent.
That's it about EVs though, isn't it? You take them on country roads with little hills and the undulation and they become super efficient. I suppose what you have to learn is when to put it into B and when to use the coasting system of the vehicle. It certainly handles, but that makes sense because let's face it, it's an electric SUV, so it's going to have a feral weight under its belt. Feels pretty damn agile, to be honest. But that goes with the territory. Essentially what happens is the body can move around on the chassis and the weight of the batteries just keeps it glued to the road, literally. So they corner like they're on rails. Nice steering there. Great feedback. And it goes where you point it. Nice and responsive. We're still coasting. So we're travelling at just under 40 miles per hour. Lane keep assist has just flashed up. That's interesting. We've got this overwatch, but it's not particularly invasive. I've noticed I've got blind spot as well, perfect for motorways. Well, we've used 2 miles and travelled 4.5. It's pretty good going so far. Currently 3.9 mile per kilowatt hour. Yeah, that's far better. It is quiet in the cabin, isn't it?
Yes, it's very refined in here.
You can't hear any outside noise. I can see in my heads-up display I've even got a roundabout and it's saying take your foot off the pedal.
At the roundabout,
It's all
take
about
the
the
third
efficiency.
exit.
Wonder what it says in sport. Nail foot to floor.
I think it might frame it slightly differently to that, but the premise is the same. Because when we're
Where's this guy
leaving,
going? He is going on here, so we will just floor it really. Use a bit of electric.
clipping in
There we
here.
go. In efficiency, it can still take off.
Efficiency is the name of the day.
Yeah. It's the name of the game. Or dame. So, 71. It says we've got 278 miles. Let's see how long that lasts.